Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Londonderry Town Council meeting for April 19th, 2021, here in the Moose Hill Council Chambers at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as our country is continuously faced with conflict. Let's just pray for sanity. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is public comment. If you have something you'd like to address with the council, now would be the time.
I have something I'd like to say, John.
Sure.
Recently, I've been noticing landscaping companies pumping water out of Kendall Pond, and the one on 128, the landscaping truck actually parked on the rail trail where it says "Don't park here" spot to pump the water out on 28. And because we have a pseudo drought going on, I don't know what we can do or can't do in regards to that, but that does affect our ground drinking water for people with wells. And I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know. I think they're supposed to get permission to pump. So I know Kendall Palm's town, and I know that I think it's Eversource, but I'm not sure for the 28. So I'm just not too sure if maybe we put a sign or something that says, you can only pump during just trying to be proactive.
So why don't we check with enforcement and find out what's going on?
Yeah, we dealt with this the last time we had a drought, I'm pretty certain, where this was happening, and we were able to curb it, so.
Okay.
I believe we passed an ordinance saying
I thought we
that
did, right,
it wasn't allowed on any town-owned water body.
yeah.
Right.
So we'll put enforcement on it.
Let's investigate and find out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please come up here. Name and address for our records, please.
Adam Cole, 9 Greeley Road.
Thank
here in
you.
Londonderry.
Hi.
This is my first meeting, so I'm a little nervous. I don't know exactly what to do.
It's okay. You're 6 feet away from everybody. You can take your mask
Oh,
off.
thank you, thank
That'll
you.
make you feel more comfortable.
So recently, my fiance and I, we applied for a subdivision on Greeley Road here in Londonderry. The subdivision was denied because the road was deemed a life safety hazard and not up to current NFPA standards.
Was it denied or continued?
It's on hold.
So it was continued. So a vote didn't take place to deny it?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So we went to the planning board, we presented to the planning board. We reminded everybody that it's a class 5 road, which is town-owned and maintained. The NFPA standard took place in 2015, so we're just wondering at what point is the town going to look into the road? And because right now, this is my fiance and this is her brother. It's his land that we're trying to subdivide because we're trying to build a house and remain very close to our family.
I understand.
So the thing that's holding us up is we cannot subdivide due to the fact that the road is not up to the NFPA standards, which is 24 feet wide and able to hold a fire truck.
Okay.
Which we did improve the road to be 24 feet wide. Now
Okay.
the question was,
Excuse me, sir?
Yeah.
Why don't you come on up and join
Yeah,
us?
you
'Cause
can.
We got to keep minutes and records and who's talking.
Okay.
So if you could give us your name and address,
Zach Whitten,
please.
5 Greeley Road.
Pardon me again?
Zach Whitten, 5 Greeley Road.
Thank you.
Okay. We did improve the road. It is 24 feet wide all the way down.
Uh-huh.
And we put reprocessed asphalt all the way down the road, which it was loam and ledge before.
Right.
And my grandfather, Bernard Fillion, built a house in 2016 and into 17. And he had to do road improvements then, which we had to cut trees and make the line of sight.
Uh-huh.
And he got a CO and everything went through. And I have 7.9 acres now, and they want to take 4 acres of that and put a house behind my house. Use my driveway as a common driveway, and the thing that keeps coming up is the road is not up to standards, which I have 3 children of my own. There's a neighbor behind me that has 3 children of his own. Me and my sister grew up there, and all we keep being told is that the road is not up to fire codes. So if something was to happen, I don't know what would happen to my family or the family behind me. And we just don't, we're at a place where we don't know where to go.
And does the town plow this road?
So,
Well-
on the record, yes, but it's minimally maintained.
Yeah, I've driven the road. I know where it is.
Yeah.
So, as recently as a week ago, I drove the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few things happening here. One is the planning board is a land use board. So this board can't interfere with what the planning board is doing.
Yes.
By state statute. So I sat on that board for 11 years. You have a few options.
Yes.
One is you can do what other developers do and bring the road up to town spec. That's one option. A second option would be is that you can go to the ZBA and apply for a waiver and see if they'll give you a waiver on that road.
And ZBA, is that,
The zoning board of adjustment.
okay.
Okay, you can go back to the planning board and you can ask them for a waiver and see if they'll waive NFPA, I think it's NFPA 72 Part B or something like that.
So when we presented to the planning board, it was last week on Wednesday, the planning board voted in our favor to waive the necessary, requirements to have the road paved, have, whatever they could waive, they waived it in our favor. We had a presentation, they heard our side of the story.
Yep.
But what it came back down to was, it's the New Hampshire State NFPA. So the town of Londonderry Planning Board could waive the requirements, but it still falls back to the
State fire
state
marshal.
level NFPA, which is the 24 feet and,
Right. So option 4,
yeah.
and you'd have to check with an attorney on this because I'm not 100% sure exactly how something like this would work, is you can come to the town council with the support of your neighbors, and if they're all your family, you can talk to them, and you can ask for the town council to relinquish ownership of the road and privatize the road. Now, I don't know if that completely meets the standard for NFPA or for the fire department. You'd have to go figure that out, and then the town council would have to decide whether or not they want to privatize the road. But we have the authority to do that. Those are sort of your options. And I don't know if that's what you were coming here looking for tonight, but that's sort of your options.
That's the thing. I mean, obviously, this is not our, we're not very professional as you guys, and we don't know all the.
We're just
exact-
voted in volunteers. We ask lawyers
You guys are
questions
up there,
too.
We're down here.
If we privatize it, we would be,
Taxes and,
we would be in charge of maintaining it and all that stuff, correct?
Right, your taxes aren't gonna change
Yeah,
anything,
not
I'll
at
tell
all.
you right up
I
front.
don't care about that, but if we did privatize it and know that it was our road,
Yeah, you gotta get an engineer, you gotta
Yeah.
get an attorney, you gotta work with the town, you gotta make sure you can do all these things.
Okay.
And then you gotta make sure that the fire chief is comfortable too, he's sitting in the room. So, I mean, now, whether that's a viable option or not, that's something you can explore. I'm not telling you that it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Add something to that as well. So I watched your whole case last Wednesday. That's what I do on Wednesday nights. I watch planning board meetings.
was our first.
Riveting, yes.
Interesting.
It was a long one.
was a long
Yes,
one.
yes, it was. It was not the one to watch, but.
No.
And I saw the discussion too around perhaps you kind of are between a rock and a hard place because they're saying we'll waive the regulations, but the town needs to accept an alternative. And I saw the discussion around a fire suppression system, but it sounded like the advice from our attorney was that the town should not
Go with that.
do something like that. So I've reached back out to the town attorney to try to find a way that we can, if there's another way to get through this where, we can waive what's required from the state, but also accept something as a town that isn't going to put more liability on the town, but does make it acceptable from a fire safety standpoint. So looking into that option as well still to see if there's a solution there.
I mean, like we said, again, it is town-owned and maintained. It's just the fact that, when we present and people have serious concerns, or at least they say they have serious concerns about fire apparatus getting down the road, it's kind of
can't-
worrisome because our entire family lives down the road.
I can't speak to what the chief's concerns are. I mean, he's here and he can speak to that, but that would be something for the fire department to answer. Yes, Deb?
One of the other things that was brought up is, and I can't remember the details, and I apologize for that, but for them to fix the road from the driveway
Yes.
up and not the whole road. So that was the other piece
Similar
of the
to
puzzle,
Bancroft.
is just doing the the smaller part as opposed to the whole road. And they needed to know what we felt about that as well. So,
So I think what I'm hearing here is that the town's amenable to coming up with a solution and working with you. We just need to see what that is. I just forward you an email from the town attorney regarding this.
Okay, so, I mean, we just came here to kind of hear you guys out, if you guys had any other,
Well, does that help?
it does.
It does.
I mean,
Okay.
So, thank
It's
you.
not as heated as the planning board meeting either, so.
Well, I mean, they, they have a very hard job.
Yes.
And, and they're trying to, as I always say, we're trying, we have a nice thing here, and this is a good town, and we're trying not to mess it up.
Yeah.
So that's what, and they're kind of the front end of that.
Yeah.
All right, John.
Good?
Yes.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? Anyone else?
Good.
Thank you, gentlemen. Nice meeting you.
Thank you, you too.
So is there anyone else here for public comment this evening? Okay, with that said, I've received a few emails over the weekend with regards to the governor's order on the mask mandate being dropped by the state. So in some discussions with town, recreation, school, and staff, I have some information, and I'm looking for how the council wants to proceed and how we feel about this. Right now, with the town, we do not have an ordinance, we do not have a mandate, but we have a resolution with guidance and recommendations. Right now, in town hall, we still have a mask mandate coming into town hall. I had a discussion with staff on Friday, and the feeling right now is that, assuming the governor took some time to make this decision and do some research, and we only found out about it on Thursday or Friday, that we should at least take until the next town council meeting before we make any decisions about what to do in town hall. Or whether we should relax that, whether or not the employees are all vaccinated, what those things may be. And that's kind of what's come from staff so far. The other discussion that took place is that you probably all saw an email that came about recreation and about those in the soccer and in the LAFA softball and baseball leagues. LAFA has come out with a policy, their policy, that they're going to mandate masks in the complex, in all areas, and on all players. The soccer group has done what I understand is relatively the same. Staff put out, not a policy, but a recommendation of how they felt they should probably address things. I think we have to tackle that to a certain point on come May 3rd, but as it stands right now, we don't have a policy, we don't have an ordinance, and we don't have a mandate on the town side. On the school side, they have a policy, they have a mandate, and on all facilities, students, staff, buildings, and fields, you have to wear a mask, is their policy. Since recreation crosses over with the school on the use of the fields, in order for them to use the school fields, I believe that's probably why the leagues are putting in policies, their policies. Understand when the league puts in a policy, whether it's LAFA or it's LISA with the soccer group or it's the lacrosse group, the enforcement must be done by the leagues, not by the town. So if someone is there and you're calling for legal enforcement from the police, that is not an area the police are going to handle. These are league rules, not town rules. So, and then I have the last piece here is as I said, from staff, that they would like to at least take some more time before we make any decisions about our own buildings. Now, did I get that all right from staff? All right, council discussion.
So you're looking to make a decision?
Well, I'm not
at
looking
the
to make any.
next- Or
Well-
discuss at the next meeting?
Well, we can discuss it the next meeting. We can discuss tonight. You can make a decision tonight if you want. We're the policy board, so that's up to all of us. I believe the information that we're getting from the people who have been working this for the last year is that let's take a little time and make sure we do this right versus just following the governor's order. And that's what I'm getting. Yes.
after looking at the output from the governor's office and from his health advisors, their intention is to follow the science. And right now, the science doesn't indicate that a mask requirement is needed any longer. And I would support that.
I've already taken it off of my private business anyway, so we had it mandatory, and it's not mandatory anymore, so, but, you know, you gotta look at who's comfortable. We were able to get in kind of saying, you know, what do you guys think? I mean, you know, we're gonna have tremendous pressure from, obviously, customers coming in too, you know? But they all felt it was time to do it based on the science, and if the town folks wanna hold off, I think it only makes sense. I mean, if people are uneasy about it, I'm not gonna try to force it down their throat right now. I mean, let's, you know, I'm okay with waiting a little bit longer, but I think eventually we gotta say, you know, this thing's kind of, hopefully it's spinning down. I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah, I say we give the town a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And probably at the next council meeting, we come up with some type of decision.
Okay, chief?
Good evening. So back when when everybody was eligible to get the vaccinations, we looked at our policy within the fire department. And out of the 53 employees that I have, I think I have 6 of us that have not yet received the vaccine. So we kind of adjusted our mask policy within the station. In doing so, unvaccinated people, if they can maintain their social distancing from another employee, that they are both individuals are required to wear a mask at that time. When they go out on the apparatus and they're, you know, there's 3 or 4 people to a piece of apparatus that wear their masks there, and then they wear their masks in public. I think it sets a good example. I understand the science, you know, and what people are speaking of, but I can tell you honestly, numbers in Londonderry are not good. We picked up 68 new cases just last week. We are the 5th highest state in the community. We're picking up cases every day, anywhere from 3 to yesterday was 18. So we're not doing something right somewhere along the line here, and I don't know what that is. I'm trying to get my finger on it, and I can't figure it out. I don't know what's happening. I think you're going to find a lot of people, I mean, after the governor's mask, you know, requirement was lifted, I got to say, I'm actually pretty impressed with places that I go and different places that I've seen that people are still, you know, they're choosing to wear them. I think when it comes down to the town hall, I think you have a majority of your employees here that have been vaccinated now. But again, it's still not knowing who and what is coming in from the public. So it's going to be my recommendation going forward that we still require, until we get a handle on this, until we see our numbers here in town take a significant decrease, which they have not. I mean, we're at our highest point now than we were back during the surge of the wintertime. And I don't know, again, what's causing that. I can only imagine what April vacation's going to cause. But I think going forward, my recommendation is we're gonna keep it the same for employees that are in here. If they're vaccinated and they choose not to wear a mask, I think we leave that as a personal, you know, option. But people coming in from the outside, not knowing what their history is, I still think we should, just like I'm doing at the fire station. Anybody, any vendor or any teacher or instructor or any member from the public that comes in, we require them to wear a mask inside the building just because we don't know the history. So that's just that's my personal take on things.
Thank you.
I wish I could offer better news, but again, I'm really concerned with the way we've seen our numbers going over the last few months, and we're not seeing the decrease that other communities are currently seeing.
So, all right, so what I'm hearing is the recommendation, so I'm hearing 2 pieces. 1, continue this discussion until the next council meeting, and 2 is, let's watch the numbers and try to figure out what the next step should be. Is that what I'm hearing?
That would be my recommendation, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. All right, do I have anyone else for public comment? I do have a letter here that's been submitted by a resident, Ms. Deanna Milley, from 8 Valley Street. To the Chair of the Town Council, Today I drove by the Kendall Pond South Road area. People are enjoying themselves, fishing, relaxing, and enjoying the wonderful weather. My mind went back to 2017 when our drought lawn watering ordinance and restriction of business taking water from the area became the rule of the land. I watched the April 5th council meeting. My response to Marge Bordeaux is fear not, Lisa Drabeck has a handle on it. That was in all capitals, by the way.
Wow.
She asks. She gets a report on Thursday on the drought standing and follows through with Kevin Smith and the town council. When I spoke with Lisa about the WMUR Channel 9 broadcast about the drought, she put it on the social media and the town website. That was approximately 2 to 3 weeks prior to the April 5th council meeting. Since we couldn't use the high school's electric sign in 2019-2020, residents were notified using the police department's portable sign about the drought conditions. When they felt the town council was too slow in implementing the drought lawn watering ordinance, we spoke again. After our talk, she consulted Kevin Smith and legal counsel. It was suggested that the town administrator or his designee could implement the drought lawn watering ordinance if necessary. The vote was yes. It is an excellent ordinance today, For council members and other committees that are now involving themselves into our water problem, unfortunately, I feel a little too late. And as the saying goes, better late than never. I feel that we are only touching the bottom of the problem, that we are allowed to persist for much too long. ... years, capital letters. We need to be better stewards of the environment, and unless we do not do more to address climate change, things may only get worse. We, as citizens of our great country, have to do our part to preserve and improve our climate/environment. Hopefully reversing the damage we, capitalized, have caused. PBS has a program recently. It's My World Too. It gave input as to what some are doing to improve environmental conditions. We may not do 100% of what we should do, but anything is bound to make a difference. The statement given at the council members' meeting and administration in 2017, water in the 21st century will be what oil is in the 20th century, the wealth of our nations. It is especially true today. Think about that. So thank you, Deanna, for your note. All right, new business. Resolution 2021-09, acceptance of unanticipated revenue under RSA 31:95-B. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chair, does our wonderful town clerk want to come up for this? It's kind of a rhetorical question, Sherry. This is an acceptance of unanticipated revenue, and this revenue comes from the money that was made during the recent rabies clinic, in which the town received a total of $910, with $40 coming from direct donations. Sherry, did you want to say anything else about that particular part?
Do you want me to take a seat?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Hi, everyone. Sherry Farrell, your town clerk. I just want to thank everyone for your support on our first annual rabies clinic. It was a huge success, and we were nervous and not sure what was going to happen. Dave Carver, our animal control officer, Chief O'Brien, Christine Genti in our office, just so many good people, the explorers, got involved, and it really turned out well. We didn't do a whole lot of advertising and all because we weren't quite sure what to expect. We ended up vaccinating about 58 dogs and 2 kitties. And all of the people that came through were patient. They had to wait in their cars because of COVID, but they were really grateful. It was just $15 for a rabies vaccination, which can be 40 or more. Many people came through and told us, they just didn't have the money. Many just couldn't get an appointment with their veterinarians because of the COVID world. So it really was a really positive thing for not only our pets but for the community. And I think Officer Cheatham said it very well. He said it was our first community event of the year, and it brought people out and together. So we were really grateful for the turnout that we had. We're looking forward to next year already, setting the date, and we want it to be bigger and better. And hopefully people won't have to stay in their cars. They'll be able to come out with their pets, get the children involved more, and other organizations that are out there, nonprofits. So the bottom line is that because Dr. Myrna donated all of the rabies vaccinations, we were able to donate $910 to Survivors Paws Animal Rescue nonprofit in town. And Dawn, if you want to come on up. I'm a big believer of when things are meant to be, they seem to come together. And we weren't quite sure how we were going to pull this off. But one thing led to another, and Allison Parsons in our office was working with us on this. She's a good friend of Dawn Williams, who is one of the founders of Survivors Paws Animal Rescue nonprofit in our town. Dawn jumped on board, brought 5 volunteers with her, and we can't thank you enough. So we are shocked. We would have been happy if we had 150 that we could donate, but we really came up with $910. So it's one of those situations where many people made little work and just great results. So I am so honored to present you with our first annual check to your wonderful group of Survivors Paws.
Thank you so much for letting us be a part of it. We had an awesome time.
Kirby wants to-
Thank you. Thank you for letting us be a part of it. It was so much fun.
Oh, it really was to see everyone involved. So does anyone have any questions about it? No, we're looking to next year, and hopefully we can get a lot more puppies registered too. So thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You still have to accept the resolution.
Yeah, I'll take a motion to accept Resolution 2021-09.
So moved, Chairman.
Second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and while we have Sherry up here, I'm going to read a proclamation that was just signed by the town council. It's in honor of Municipal Clerks Week, which is May 2nd to May 8th, 2021. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is a time-honored and vital part of local government throughout the world, and whereas the town of Londonderry has an exceptional office of municipal clerks who take great pride in their work every single day, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between residents, their local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to ever be mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk serves as a vital information center for residents with regard to the functions of local government and our community, and whereas municipal clerks continually serve to improve the administration of affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and professional organizations. Now, therefore, the Londonderry Town Council recognizes May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extends its appreciation to our municipal clerk, Sherry Farrell, as well as assistant clerks Christy Campbell, Allison Parsons, Sherry Fuller, and Christina Genti, with great thanks for all of the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the town of Londonderry and its residents. Signed this 19th day of April 2021 at the town of Londonderry, New Hampshire, and the witness thereof, the seal and signature of the town of Londonderry and its town council. Congratulations.
It means more than you could all know, and we just appreciate your support. It's been an unprecedented year for our office. We've been in there since the beginning of this pandemic, trying to keep the town, afloat, and it's an amazing team that we have in that office, and we couldn't do it either without all of you supporting us every day. So thank you. It really means a lot to all of us in the office. Just one other little shout out that we shouldn't go unnoticed. Kirby Brown sitting back there. The reason we have great checks at the last minute to present and to kind of, show and to thank, Survivors Paws is because of the times that we go up to Kirby and say, Kirby, can you do this? Kirby, can you make this? Can you create this? And I think that shack is just out of this world. So Kirby, you were also one of those hidden people behind the scenes that makes everything happen. So, but thank you everyone very much.
Thank you. And so as a side note, for those of you who don't know, our office over there of 5 and the tax collector collect over $100 million a year for the community to operate. So very much appreciate the ladies of that office. Okay, so one other proclamation that we had that we won't be reading tonight was presented by Councilor Butler at the at Kent Allen's memorial over in the town forest, named for Kent Allen. Just some things to point out, and I think it was a very nice ceremony. His daughters did a great job. The stories were fantastic, but I guess I left there with deeds, not words, which was really nice. So thank you again, Kent, for your time and service to the community and to the Allen family. Okay, Resolution 2021-10, a resolution relative to the adoption of Exit 4A area as a TIF district. This is first reading. Second reading will be May 17th. We had discussed this at the last meeting. Are there any questions on the TIF district before I ask for a waiver of reading?
I have a question, John.
Yes.
Can somebody explain to me, since a lot of this is going on to private property as opposed to town property, how, if there's any difference in that? In other words, what we did at the airport was the roads and stuff were town property, and where it's going now, it's a lot of privately owned roads. So I was just kind of curious if that affects, or how that affects things, and what makes it a little bit different. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I believe most, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe most of the dollars for this are basically for infrastructure, to be able to bring roads, sewers, and utilities to that area so that so they can privately develop it.
Right.
But my point is, like up there, we paved the roads.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we going to pave them, or are they going to pave them because it's private property?
So we didn't.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
So very similar to Pettingill. That was all private property.
But the roads weren't. They were public.
Correct. So
that's what I'm talking about.
So any development agreement that is reached over on this TIF, it would still be public infrastructure. So in other words, there'll be no private roads constructed with public money.
So, but inside the Woodmont, right? It's all his roads. He's supposed to maintain, plow, and
Correct.
they're smaller than our standard roads.
Correct.
So if we put the infrastructure on those roads or in those roads, I guess I'm a little, I understand what you're saying, but I also see the difference in the two. And I
So let me see if I understand your question. What we're doing is we're bringing it, it's kind of like when, I mean, maybe a good example is, and he'll correct me if I've got the example wrong, is that when if we would bring public water someplace, you would pay for the hookup. This is sort of the same thing. We're going to bring it to you, and then they got to take it from there.
So we're only going to bring it to the edge of his roads?
Well, that would depend on what the development agreement says that the town council has to sign off on. So, for example, when we did the other TIF districts, there's individual development agreements that we negotiate.
Okay.
What goes into those agreements. So this is, just because you create the TIF district doesn't mean this is the last time we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So they'll come, we don't know what they're going to build. So they may come and say, we're going to build X, and it may need more wastewater treatment than we were expecting. Well, then that's a different discussion for that development agreement, which they have to negotiate with us, because we're the only ones that can sign off on a contract. So that's why we do the TIF districts the way we do them, so that one, so they don't stay open, and two is so that we can control them. And tell me if I'm not making sense.
I understand like this, but my hurdle was thinking if those lines were coming in and going under private land, like we shouldn't have to pay to put the hardtop back on because they're not our roads.
That's correct.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
that-
that's
and that
what my
is- and-
concern was. Like,
Yeah.
how did that make it different?
No, that is correct. By law, we can only spend money on what would be public infrastructure. So if we're
Okay.
going to spend money on a roadway, it's a public roadway. It's not private to Woodmont.
Okay, so he would have, well, the development would have to, the person who owns the property would have to, so like up at Pettingill, it was stopped at their doorway, and from
Correct.
there on,
Yep.
they had to bring it in and pay for it,
That's right.
correct?
Right.
Yep.
Just like if you have to
Okay.
bring public water into your house.
I just, like I said, it
I
was,
understand. It's,
Yep.
it's a
I
new
didn't know if we
concept.
were gonna run them, and then I'm like, but that's all, well, a lot of it, not all of it, but it's all private, so we
Sure.
shouldn't have to
I understand.
Yep.
cover that cost.
Okay.
That's
Any
all.
other? No. It's a reasonable
Thank you
question.
for clearing it up for me.
Yep.
So, any other questions? All right, I'll take a motion to waive reading.
So moves, Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. We're waiving reading. This is your only notice. Public hearing on May 17th, 2021.
Mr. Chair, the reason the public hearing isn't until May 17th and not the first meeting is, by law, we have to give the school district an opportunity. If they want us to come in and talk about it to them, we will. So they'll have that opportunity at their next board meeting.
That'd be great. I'm sorry, I missed. There was one thing I was supposed to, excuse me, I'm just looking. Sorry, I got a sewer warrant here that I missed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
a comment? One of the reasons that, let me follow up on what the town manager just said. There's some background as to why the school district would be interested in something like this. Why do they need to consider it and give comment? Because in a case like this, it means that the school district is, like the town, is going to be delayed in receiving some tax revenue. And it makes sense that they're in on that ahead of time and not after the fact. And the bigger picture is that, yes, the town and the school district, the two major government bodies in town, would be delayed in getting some tax revenue. In the bigger picture, we're gonna be getting more tax revenue sooner, both our government and the school government. And that's the reason why this would make sense.
Totally agree. Okay. Now, Miss Deanna's favorite subject, drought status.
That's right. Mr. Chair, as of last Thursday's drought map, so April 13th,
Let's put it in the yellow folder if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lisa.
that's okay. The town has now elevated from abnormally dry status to a drought status, to moderate drought. I just wanted to bring this to the council's attention. As a reminder, we did pass an ordinance in 2020. It's 2020-03, which would empower the council in a drought status to impose lawn watering restrictions if you so chose to do so. And then we would provide public notice. They would go into effect 3 calendar days later. And there are 3 levels of drought restrictions, should you choose to impose them at this point. The first one is simply odd addresses would water on odd days, even on even days. And then after that, it gets more restrictive. So,
Okay, so I think at the last meeting, we talked about that we were going to have a phone call with DES, Department of Environmental Services, the next day. During that phone call, we surfaced this discussion with regards to drought and watering and going to odd and even days on irrigation systems. We were a little surprised by what they said. What they actually said is that you may want to hold off on doing that because that would probably urge people to water more often than they already are. I believe that's what they said. I swear that's what they said. So I'm
Okay.
bringing that to you as information, that they thought that if we restricted them already, that they actually thought people would probably use more water than if we didn't, and if we just strongly encourage them. Now, whether I agree or I disagree with that, that was the response from the person who is in charge of that area for DES. Did I get that right? So, with that, discussion. Needless to say, we were a little surprised.
It makes sense. If you think about it, the fact people are, if they're concerned that they are gonna have enough water into their soil, that they may try to hoard the water at first while they still can water. And then in anticipation of cutting off lawn watering altogether, they've at least put a bunch of water into their yard beforehand. So it makes sense what Dee said.
So, just give me just 1 second, Marge. So, I mean, I'm open to whatever everybody wants to do. But let's, let's think about what that is. Marge wants to.
That's fine.
Okay, Marge.
Marge Bedoy, Conservation Commission. The ideal way to water a lawn needs about an inch of water a week. Ideally, all at once or in 2 doses. So if people are watering twice as much on fewer days, it's actually what they should be doing because it promotes the roots of the lawn to grow deeper and allows it to survive drought conditions better than if they're watering a little bit every day and the roots go shallow. So it's really a good thing.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, what do you want to do?
I think we should really consider doing something sooner than later, personally. But that's just my opinion. I think that, this way it gives us time. So if people start doing that, we can keep educating them and keep putting it out there so that people understand that this is a serious, issue. If you're getting, even I got a letter from Pennachuck recently, and I'm not on their watering system, but they're concerned about the water and talking, it was in regards to Ministerial Hill. And my water use affecting those people on the hill. And so I think that, for Pennachuck to even be concerned about groundwater and groundwater use is saying a lot because they're drawing from a much bigger source than we all are. So I think we should do something sooner than later. But that's, again, just my opinion.
Yes?
Was this study taken into consideration the deluge we just received in the past few days? It was like,
no, the maps come out every Thursday, so this was last Thursday prior to the snow event that we had.
Snow, it was like 3 inches of rain, whatever it was, a lot of rain, so.
Yes, Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that I don't object to us imposing a higher level of restriction than we currently have. My point is that whatever we do, we try to do for a relatively long period of time so that we don't start flipping the restrictions back and forth between this kind of restriction versus that kind of restriction. I think we're going to confuse the public and we'll have multiple violations unknowingly because what is it again? If they get used to every odd and even day, if they go to a different level of restriction and then another different level of restriction, we'll have a widespread non-compliance problem, which when we have widespread non-compliance that's not enforced, and we really don't have a lot of lawn enforcement police out there, people tend to disregard the law and think of it as a joke and no longer comply, and that could spread to other forms of compliance that we're looking for in the community. So my point is, without beating a dead horse, is that whatever we pick and think of it as a relatively long-term thing. When I mean long-term, I mean probably a couple of months worth of length. I'm not saying years, but a couple of months, as opposed to, we'll get an update from Lisa next week and maybe change it again, and I'm nervous about the frequent changes and then having multiple non-compliances.
Okay. Anything from you, Jim?
I agree with Tom.
So do you want to go to odd and even, starting immediately?
Maybe like the end of May or something?
Yeah. End of May, that's not a bad idea. But start
Uneven,
educating
starting the end of May?
Yeah, and start educating the public now.
Well, how are we gonna educate the public?
So we would certainly put notice out there. All the ordinance requires is 3 calendar days before it becomes effective. I just need to know from the council what date at the end of May that you mean. Do you mean May 31st or?
Pulling my calendar up.
I'd say
We could certainly reevaluate at the next council
last
meeting.
Monday in May.
The last Monday in May is the 31st.
Maybe we can find someone that owns a newspaper that could put something out there to educate the public.
So, yeah, I mean, please do all, use whatever outlets we can to educate the public, and let's see what we can do about getting that out there.
Do we ever use, I know Nixie is for only police. but
Yeah, the police can put that out for us
we
as
Put that
well.
out for,
See,
yeah, 'cause
Twitter.
I think we need to put it on Twitter, or we need to put it on
Website.
Facebook, whatever we can do, websites, and just blast that out. Put it on New Hampshire Moms, that's the most informative.
So this is for all residents, right? Town water, well water, everything.
Yes,
This is,
all lawn watering,
this is private, not commercial.
commercial and private.
Commercial and private.
I'm sorry, commercial and, and private. Yep.
Yeah, please be sure to inform the schools of the same. And that we would expect them to adhere to the ordinance as well.
And what do we, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, how would we assign the schools an odd or an even nomenclature?
Well, they have an address each of the buildings, right?
I don't know, like LAFA and stuff like that, what would the?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna leave that up to the town manager, because he's the odd and even guy. Thanks for the setup. I think the schools all have addresses, to be honest.
They have to.
But you'll be in charge of the odd and even.
I'm on it.
And is 0 odd or even?
That's even.
No comment.
Okay. Is there anything else on that? No?
Nope.
All right. May I ask for approval of the minutes of the April 5th meeting as presented in
So
our
moved.
packet?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative, 5-0.
Question,
Yes?
did we go over the acceptance of unanticipated revenue?
You talking about number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, we voted on that and did it. All right, my understanding is Ms. Mcdonald has a personal family thing that has come up. What I suggested to, and please, weigh in on this, what I suggested to Lisa is that the task force recommend who they would like to step in to the council.
Yeah, but Lisa's already been working on that, and Lisa has been doing a great job cleaning up my mess. Let's put it that way.
Well, with that said, liaison reports.
Well, we're having another, we had a.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I overlooked something. Please give me a motion to accept the resignation of Kate McDonald for the
Mr. Chairman.
KFAS Task Force.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Thank you, Ms. McDonald. We're sorry that you can't continue to serve, but we wish you the best with your family. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the liaison reports, the Water Task Force had a very detailed briefing from DES at our last meeting. I can tell you that DES stayed with us till after 9 o'clock, and they did an outstanding job, very technical, very complex. Surprised me at how complex this problem is, and what it's gonna take as we move forward. I have a draft of a update to the charge. Was that, I don't know if that was a resolution, I think.
Yes.
I have an update to that resolution that I'll bring to the next council meeting, that will change the focus and actually expand it a little bit for the rest of you to consider. But like I said, this is a very complex issue, extremely interesting from the scientific point of view, a little less interesting from the consumer point of view, because what we've heard, what I've heard so far, it could be a little more difficult to apprehend than what we originally thought.
Based on the brief meeting that we had with DES, I think we're talking about something much bigger.
Yeah. So, like I said, I have some ideas, and I'm going to talk to Kevin about some ideas, also Kevin and Lisa. But in the meantime, our next meeting is this Wednesday at 7 o'clock here.
No, it's
I'm
actually
sorry,
at the
high school.
cafeteria.
At
Yep.
the high school. I'm sorry, because we have a conflict with the planning board.
Correct. Or
So it'll be in the high school caf. So if any of you'd like to come, or if the public would like to come, you're welcome to come with that. And given the early discussion we had, that we still will have mask mandate at that meeting this Wednesday. So,
Feedback I've gotten through the grapevine is that the members want to be more active, I guess is the best. They want to take more, which is good. They want to take a more active role. I don't know what that means because I didn't watch the last meeting, but just that's all I heard.
yeah, we, unfortunately, with the technical restrictions, if that's the right word, the technical challenge of trying to Zoom with the state and the public and the committee all at the same time, result was the public really didn't have much of a chance to interact. They could watch on a tape standpoint, but there wasn't any Q&A afforded to the public. So this next meeting we have, the public can certainly attend. We won't have DES there. They'll be coming back again in May. But at this next meeting, this Wednesday night, the DES won't be there. We can certainly take DES-type questions, and if we can't answer them, we will record them and get them answers.
Thank you. Anyone else? Liaisons? Yes? Yes?
Well, if,
Yeah, I can't tell whether you want to say something or
oh,
not.
I do. I'm sorry. I thought Tom was going to say something else. I apologize.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
So planning board, Tom came and gave a great report on all the different House bills and Senate bills and how they affect land use and what the planning board and department should be aware of and how it would affect us. And I hope you continue to do that because it was really enlightening, I felt. And then at the end of the meeting, there were some interesting conversations to look at some ordinances. One with that Jake Butler brought up, which was no, excuse me, it wasn't Jake. It was Bruce. I apologize. Bruce, I can't remember his last name. He's new. Had brought up in regards to developers having mandatory tie-in to water as new buildings come in, that they have to hook up to water. And I guess we're going to have some conversation with the town attorney. And then the sign ordinance came up and the chicken ordinance. Those two I brought up because being on ZBA, it seems like every other meeting is either a sign or we want to have chickens. So those are two things that I thought were important to just keep you guys in the loop with, because we might have some input on it. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it just says, you're right, because eventually the ordinance finds its way here. Anyone else? Liaisons?
Do you also bring up an update on the lemonade stand issue at the State House? Or?
Yeah, you want an update on that one?
Is it going to be masks or no masks, or is it going to be
that's always
testing water first? Or
that's always a fun piece of legislation every year, the lemonade stand bill.
No Starbucks cart. You may want to introduce that now that, we'll be getting a new librarian.
they can go to the clerk's office and
We
get
will not be putting a
license,
lemonade
or-
stand in the library. But what this bill is, it came up every year, and it usually fails every year, and this year it passed. And actually, I wrote an amendment that helped get it passed. This was a bill that basically said that the towns the mean Kevin Smiths of the world can no longer require a license or a permit if a 10-year-old wants to go out and put a lemonade stand up in front of their house. Needless to say, we haven't had any history of that happening in the state prior.
Kevin's gotta find another source of revenue.
Right,
once
another
we-
source of
Yeah.
revenue. So, so we put this to bed basically by changing the wording in the bill from lemonade stand to soft drink stand, so that we wouldn't discriminate against Kool-Aid or water or Coke or whatever. And that passed, so the history of that goes back, I think, into the state of Texas, where they actually were doing that. They were harassing young kids from having little drink stands. So this was put forth, actually sponsored by a lemonade company, and that's why it got the lemonade, the word lemonade in the bill, because they were sponsoring it. But it's really not about lemonade. It's about soft drinks and leaving kids alone and so forth. So it passed.
Good.
Happy to see that the urgent needs
Very worried.
of the state are being handled.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for the council's awareness, so when things happen on the ZBA and the planning board and everything, you'll notice from time to time, we get emails. And that generally the chair responds to them and everything. And what winds up happening is that, so if you're involved in these meetings and you see something that you're not 100% sure on, or you have a question about or something, sometimes what happens is when we dig into it and we get more detail and we go to the town attorney, we go, and for instance, recently, in one of the meetings, they said, well, the town attorney said X. Well, the information got back to me. I took it to the town attorney, and he said, I never looked at this. So sometimes we don't always get it right. So if you see things and you're not sure they're right, let's say something, let's do it right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all we really want to do is do it right. So if you're not sure about it, don't wait for here, bring it up. Bring it to Kevin, bring it to me, and we'll go check it out. Because every once in a while, we do get it wrong, and we just want to get it right.
John,
So-
there is a bill that is processing through the works right now that you'll be interested in, Deb, from the planning board standpoint. And there are some planning boards in the state who are taking it upon themselves to exercise their, I don't mean to politicize this, but their Green New Deal thoughts about fossil fuels. And what they're doing is they're mandating that new housing developments must use electric energy in order to heat their homes and so forth. And the use of propane or oil or gas or whatever is not permitted by some planning boards with new developments. So there is a bill that's processing through the works right now. It's going to come to my committee that will make that illegal, that planning boards can exercise that kind of authority to try to influence the use of the kind of fuels that are used, especially fossil fuels and so forth. Even if you say you got to use electrical energy, the fact that electrical energy might be made by the burning of a fossil fuel, like here in Londonderry when we burn natural gas, that doesn't make any difference. It's just trying to influence energy use. Like I said, there is a bill that's processing that will stop that and stop planning boards from having that authority.
Well, at least I can say, thank God they're not trying to take away all of our choices.
All right. Anything else? Thank you. Town manager report.
I am all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Lisa?
Mr. Chair, just a quick update and then asking for a consensus from the council. This current year's Leadership Londonderry class, we've managed to hold it all the way through. Most of the sessions have been remote, but they did just have an in-person session up at the airport, so we thank the airport for hosting them along with Captain Gandia and taking them on tours, behind-the-scenes tours. Their graduation is scheduled for June 10th. We'd like to begin soliciting applicants for the 21-22 class with the hope that the classes can resume in person, but I just wanted to make sure the council wanted us to proceed with doing so.
Yes.
Yes? Yes? Yes?
Thank you. They'll be coming out soon.
Okay, our next meeting is on May 3rd at 7 PM. Is there any further business for this evening? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody
Second.
want a second? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes affirmative, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.